Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It is the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, Herman Moore. Herman is loaded with coffee today. This is going to be off the rails, amazingly fun, very entertaining. You don't want to miss it. And as we always talk about, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate, love all of you, love the comments, the good and the bad ones. Herman has decided that I don't know that I'm just saying this is going to be a crazy show today. Herman, how are things in Michigan? I miss you now. Now I'm back in Utah. I can't poke through the screen and actually see you. I'm feeling a little bit what's the word? Lonely, I guess.
Hey Scott, man, you can't be lonely with all the wildlife you got there. And I saw your backyard. Go for a walk or something, man. Go out there and hang out and see the mountains and the plains and just that beautiful lush area they got out in the back there. And then also take a nice little dip in your pool. How's the weather out there anyway?
It's always sunny. We have 300 days of sunshine where I live. It's going to be in the 80s. It's actually going to hit 100 by Sunday if you actually want a weather report. We basically have a bunch of rocks. I wouldn't call it lush. It's more rocks. It's more mountainous, desert, plateauish kind of landscape. Now in Michigan, I forgot how wooded and how green Michigan. And by the way, I man, I can't get over this turkey hunt we went on. It was just so fun, so enjoyable, and it was nothing like what I expected. I really seriously thought, "Oh boy, this is just gonna be nuts. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be, a cluster," and it wasn't. It was epic. I was actually talking to one of the Kiefer brothers, and he goes, "Man, I've shot over 5,000 turkeys." And he says, that hunt with you guys was special. It was epic. It was unbelievable. It was one of the best we've ever done, ever been a part of. And it really was. It was a moment for sure. So I
Yeah,
miss
those
it.
guys are
Miss
great
you.
guides. They're really good guides.
Yeah, they are. They are top shelf. So we want to do more stuff with them in the future. All right, we're gonna have fun today. We're gonna be off the chains, off the rails. As you can see, I'm excited that Herman is so. Is it caffeinated? Is that what you are? Coffeenated? Caffeinated? Is
I'll
it
be
such a word?
caffeinated for you. It's
Yeah.
caffeinated, but I'll be caffeinated for you today.
Coffee caffeinated. So yeah. So we're gonna do some a bunch of hot headlines, or what is the term you used? I always use hot headlines, but hot headlines
Some
is
people
good,
say
or
hot headlines,
headline
hot takes, um,
hot takes like hot
hot
cakes. There you go.
topics.
Uh, all right, we're gonna riff off of some of the hot takes of the day in the world of sports. So apparently, allegedly, looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. He has a scheduled visit coming up soon. Is this a shock to everyone, to anyone? Do we care? Should we care? Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I
That was
once
a
you
long
start
pause. That was like,
only because I follow these guys, right, and
yeah,
people know that I am a fan, right. So I've watched the Pittsburgh. I grew up. That's the team I grew up watching,
yeah.
and
So does this matter to
I
you? Like,
understand.
do you still care about that? Does it
I do,
matter to
I do.
you?
I mean,
Okay.
if you talk to Lion fans and
Yeah,
I'm a former player, so I'm naturally going to be a Detroit Lion fan.
right.
However, when you grow up and you watch certain players and you start to have those idols and you have those teams and those experiences um, of watching those teams with family members and friends and the competition and the debates and the battles, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of your history. So, and then getting to know the people who have been through that organization, both on the personal level, like a Kevin Colbert, who was the GM
Yeah,
there before he retired, but he was
right.
also here with Ron Hughes and instrumental in getting me to come to Detroit out of
Kevin
in the 1991 draft.
yeah, Kevin actually was with the Miami Dolphins when they
Right.
drafted
So
me, so
yeah.
I've
So you
known
follow
Kevin
these
for
guys.
yeah, I love Kevin,
Coach
yeah,
Tomlin, got to know
yeah.
him over the years. He actually gave me the nickname when I was out at a training camp, and he was introducing me to the team and saying, we had a special guest here at practice, and he called me the Blueprint. And
Ooh,
that's all
ooh,
I love when people, they say you shouldn't give yourself a name, but so when
uh,
he kind of anointed me with that one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna run with that. And he was introducing me to Juju Schuster and Antonio Brown at the
ooh.
time, and then taking me through and meeting with Ben Roethlisberger and all these guys. So it's like you get to say, wow, this is a nice experience. So the only reason I say that, and then meeting also the Rooneys and their family, and they were super kind, super nice, polite, and took me through the organization. I look at where they are right now, and you see where this team is trying to go. They're trying to get over the hump. They're trying to get back into relevance in terms of not just being part of the AFC North, uh, uh, but as a team that can get back to the Super Bowl. That's their boom or bust. Mike Tomlin, I've said this over and over. When you have a coach that says a standard is a standard, that tells you there's no compromise. So when I look at this, I go, is that the best fit? Will Aaron Rodgers be the best fit? Give them the best opportunity, or is it time now that your coach is gone, you got a new coach in McCarthy? Do you also now start to bring in? I get the relationship you've had there, but where's the future? This is no. He's not. I don't think Aaron Rodgers alone is big enough or elite enough at this point to carry that team where it needs to go as an individual. So that's what my hesitation would be in terms of saying, do you make that move? And I guess it comes down to the cost and what's the purpose. And I'm not in that room, so maybe he's there for that reason. He's there to they're going to go after someone else to maybe have him mentor them or something like that. Maybe there's a bigger plan at play, but I don't see him as being the one you put your team on his back and say all of a sudden he's going to elevate that entire offensive unit.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is interesting because he's played well. He got injured. You start to see him slowing down, and the question is, can he last through a season? And you saw some of these guys get into their 40s, and they're highly productive. The way the league is structured, the way the play is, these guys aren't taking the hits, they're not taking the pounding, so they can play into their 40s and play well. Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl late into his 40s. You see Matthew Stafford, he's not 40 now, but he's certainly kind of toward that back end. You see Drew Brees, Peyton Manning got up into that part, but when the drop off happens, it's off a cliff, so these guys, it's not gradual, it's like boom, and you just wonder if that's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. And every year, especially when a guy says, I don't know, he's like he knows internally, like, I know I'm really, really close to the end. I don't know if I wanna go through the physicalness, the emotional, it's a lot, going through a season. It's draining, just the focus and concentration and effort, and, it's a monumental thing to have to go through, and you just get to a point where you just go, I don't know that I can go through it. So that's always my question with him, but I don't know that there was really a better option out there. It's like the draft. You're going to get a guy, and that guy's going to have to develop. It's going to take time. For the present, for today, for right now, I think Aaron is the best solution, and it felt like he got better, got more comfortable after his injury, and like he could still play. But yeah, I certainly not a long term solution for me. Now, I want to go on to the next
But
headline
hold
here.
on, before you
Okay,
before you jump off of that, I do want to add one more part to that though. But and I question that, and here's why I go a little bit against
question
the
what?
grain. Just whether or not he's a better fit. Like I think
Oh,
you let's pull away the Aaron Rodgers name, right?
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers' name is not gonna we're not gonna take it as that's who he is because he's not the same. He's not that same player.
yeah,
I know we all like to feel like we don't lose something, but as you get older, you lose some things. Yes, you gain some things as well.
right.
Don't know him personally. I watched his career, storied career, great guy, great quarterback, um, Hall of Famer. A guy that's been there, done that. No problem. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. But the league has changed. The league has changed in terms of what is required of a quarterback, the mobility of those quarterbacks. It's beyond just your experience. I mean, you start looking at a guy like a Josh Allen, or you start looking at any of these younger quarterbacks coming in. They have escapability. They have the ability to run. They actually have an immediate impact or threat to where teams have to look for them. I don't think if he's getting chased, you're going to have to worry about him in that part. So really, you become really a pocket passer. You become well, not a stationary quarterback. Yes, he has the acumen and he has the ability to read the defenses probably at a much greater level than most in the NFL, regardless of their tenure and regardless of who they are. But the league itself, I think, requires your quarterback to be a little different than what it was in his let's say his glory days and his bigger years. And I don't know necessarily you can ask a guy who's in his 40s to all of a sudden now adopt to that and then and start to have this adaptable skills that will now be able to make up for that even at this part in terms of his career. I just don't think it'll give him. I think there's some elements that he's going to leave on the table that if the team had, it's going to give them a better um, chance at terms of being a more efficient, more effective offense.
Yeah, there's a debate over mobile quarterbacks and being able to move, and is that really the best move? Because I believe it's a quarterback that's got to sit in the pocket and make all the throws, because defenses will force you eventually to do that, and he's a guy that can do that. Now he can't maybe get out of people's way. Tom Brady could never get out of people's way, and he learned how to function and survive, with anticipation, with really knowing where to go with the football and knowing when to kind of tug it down. I'm actually
I just
not.
saw a really frustrated quarterback. I saw a really frustrated quarterback when I watched him last year
Who, Aaron?
in games, whether it
Well, yeah,
was
because they don't have players.
right. So if you don't have the players,
Yeah,
then you're gonna have to have quarterbacks who can make up for that. We right now the biggest debate around Josh Allen is like he needs more perimeter. He needs
yeah.
he needs better receivers. He needs better players around him in the skill position to be able to do all these different things because he can't do it alone. Well, look at his athletic ability. And you compare the two,
Huh.
and you look at Josh being a threat not only on just the ground, but look how many touchdowns he's scoring even if he's not throwing. Well, you're leaving a lot of that on the table. If you look at a lot of your mobile quarterbacks, there's things they're doing to extend the plays. There's things they're doing to offset in the event that your line can't protect you. I don't think you can sit here and say Pittsburgh's going to have an offensive line that will not allow pressure, that they're one of the top five in the NFL. If he had the top five NFL offensive lines around him, then maybe you sit there and you say, okay, he can sit there and kind of take his time, pick you apart. Doesn't need to have these all pro wide receivers around him. He just needs to have guys who can make plays and run routes and be efficient. Same thing that we saw with Brady when he was not only he had better play. He had a lot of receivers. If you think about it, he played so long, he's had a lot of group of receivers. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same thing to work with. You understand what I'm saying? So I
No,
just think it's going to be
yeah.
different.
Well, what you're saying is you got to find ways to manufacture offense and make plays, get the ball to playmakers. And if you don't have the playmakers, then you've got to generate that offense or generate more time to get some of these guys that maybe need a little help getting open, or because you're not going to cover anyone forever. And he just doesn't necessarily have that ability. I don't know that he's ever been necessarily a guy who's um, been as much of a scrambler, but he has had one thing. He's been injured a lot in his career, even back when he was having success. So yeah, it's an interesting debate about how mobile should your quarterback be, because Patrick Mahomes is. I don't see him as a mobile core. I mean, he does move and he certainly ran, but Patrick Mahomes, a guy who wants to beat you throwing the football, and he just throws it so unconventional, and he extends plays. That he's more of that player as opposed to. I don't think Patrick Mahomes really wants to run, and I think Josh Allen would probably tell you, I don't want to run as much as I do, but I kind of have to. And I think coaches don't want him to run as much, because these guys get injured. I mean, Lamar Jackson, who's phenomenal, I think Lamar Jackson's the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL, and I think he doesn't want to run as much. It's like, it just the hits you take on your body, and I've always been of the belief that you want your quarterback to live to play the next down. So,
But look at what happened when he stopped running, though. Look at when those quarterbacks, if you pull that element away, and
well, but
even
they
in
can't hit
Baltimore,
quarterbacks anymore. Herman. Like, you touch a quarterback, it's like it's roughing the passer if you pass by him and breathe on him. Like, you can't even do that. Like,
Right. No, I completely understand.
all right, well, let's move on. I'm gonna skip this second one because I think I'm just gonna say it, and I think it's kind of a captain obvious statement. And if you have anything to say about it, fine, but I'll just tell you, well, duh, no kidding. So Chiefs GM Brett Veach said he knew immediately, not 1 second, not 5 seconds, not 5 minutes, not after a week of reflection. He knew immediately after the 2025 season that the roster changes were needed despite the success that the Chiefs did. The Chiefs have success last week or last year? Like, anyways, I just saw the statement and I'm like, really? Of course you need to make some changes. Clearly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're always gonna GMs are always actively looking to upgrade rosters. They're looking to make moves. They're looking to find better chemistry. They're looking to replace players that they can anticipate, whether it be contract situations that are going to arise, or whether it be players that you're looking to kind of part yourself from, and you're looking for that next move. So there's always going to be upgrades that are happening, and I think immediately states that they saw some things in the horizon and problems that were coming up that had been kind of percolating. That they'd been there for a while, and we've seen the Chiefs. We see it at all times. Anytime you have a sustained success over a period of time, teams are going to catch up to you. We've seen that happen here in Detroit. We've seen that happen in other places. Like Chicago is now all of a sudden a media darling in the NFC North. But what you're going to see is teams are going to be gunning for them. They're going to play a little bit differently, and they're going to have to constantly be moving, upgrading, making changes, playing at a higher level, and that's what comes with success.
I think to your point with um the Steelers, man, I'm trying to think of all the teams here in the NFL. Just about Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of what happened to Patrick Mahomes. Here Patrick Mahomes kind of that the talent around him isn't quite as good as it's been in the past. And he's in the pocket and he's taking more shots and he's not necessarily running and moving. And they what they did is they said, our offensive line, we're going to have to make some sacrifices on, but Patrick's so good and the people around him are so good that we can kind of slide through this and get around it and just hope that it's not, we don't get exposed with it. And so I think that's what ultimately happened. People realized, they're not really that good up front. The talent isn't what it was. Travis Kelsey isn't who he used to be, and they're vulnerable. So uh, again, I just think, yeah, no kidding. We all kind of feel that way. All right, Drake May. Now this is this is an interesting comment, and there's a lot here. But anyways, the Patriots quarterback Drake May actually publicly came out and kind of backs up his coach Mike Vrabel, and just said, "Look, he's a great human being." And of course, Mike Vrabel's under talk about hot takes or hot he's under that microscope, and it's not just for the football world. I mean, if you look at any news outlet today, there's some story about Mike Vrabel and his whatever relationship with Deanna Rossini, and so it's just an interesting public, I guess I don't know, affirmation for your coach from Drake May.
It is. You got a young quarterback getting ready to go into, I think it's his third season, and you're having to deal with now this what we call the external um, distractions. Uh, Typically, the coaches, the organizations, the administrative people, they're always looking to try and keep the players aligned. But when it happens with one of your leadership people, it then carries a whole different type of consequence. It carries a whole different type of management that's needed for it. And in this one, it, you know, it's a sensitive situation because it's so personal, even though it's been brought into the public space. And that's the only thing I hate when it comes to that. And a lot of people say, well, it comes with the territory. Things can come with the territory, but it doesn't mean that you have to exploit those things and that you have to all of a sudden say, well, you deserve it because you live in a public space. And I think there are some things that are best handled in those spaces. Imagine if all of us, every time we had a situation, it was taken into the public space. It's not for everyone. It doesn't mean it should be there because these are public figures or highly visible people. And every when we talk about human nature, we talk about human beings. We are um, flawed, no matter what. So anyone we think of, we can go find the greatest person out here that we think is nothing but the best of the best, the cleanest of the cleanest. But there's a personal life and there's a personal side to it. And there's some other pieces that happen because we don't follow them 24/7 that set, I think, people up for that catastrophic downfall, while forgetting that they are human. And I know with Drake May, you're getting in, you got a young player getting in and say, hey, I'm behind my coach. He's a great guy. He's a great person. And with no offense probably meant or anything like that, it almost says, that is what we care most about. And I know that's not the take there, but they're supporting him, but they don't equate. This is a family matter. This is a personal, highly personal matter. And yet it can't be on the same surface as playing sports, which has a window. These are things that are going to affect these individuals, especially Coach Vrabel, um, you know, forever, right? Is in some capacity. So it's unfortunate that these things spill out into the public space. Um, and then with players, almost you want your PR team to step in and say, you know what, we're just going to say, coach is handling it, and you move on. And I think anyone tries to elaborate any deeper on that, can have it all of a sudden have sides taken on it, and hopefully the players don't have to answer those questions, or the organization put them in a position where they have to even talk about it, or players put themselves in a position to where they interject too much into circumstances that they probably are only knowing about on the surface.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me simply for these reasons. I guess simply is a bad term to say, but for these reasons, I guess. If you talk to someone who, like, say, Michael Jackson said, any press is good press, so bring it on. So there's always this, I want to be the spotlight. I don't care. It's all good thing. Now, if you're a professional football player and you know this, and I know this very well, you don't want to touch any of this with a 10-foot pole, because all it does is creates 10 more questions, 10 more days of you having to answer for, well, what do you mean? Are you insensitive to, the heartache, or the sensitive nature of this relationship, and it's public, and it feels like you're taking one side over the other. And of course, you're a player and you're supposed to take the side of your coach, but can't you do it privately? Do you have to bring this out publicly? And is it diminishing, the relationship, or is it dissing Coach Vrabel's wife? Whatever. So you're just going to have to answer these questions. So then you're like, I don't really. Why did I even open my mouth and say anything at all publicly? Because the media is just going to be all over this. And so you're kind of caught in this, you know I don't know which way to do it. Should I be loyal to my coach? Should I do it in private? Should I do it publicly? And then there's the publicist side of this, right? And where they go, well, we're gonna try to create a narrative, and then that sounds contrived, and then the public feels like it's lied to, and and you want that honest reaction, but you don't want to give the honest reaction if you're a player, and it's just a conundrum that Drake May is kind of in, and you just have to live with the consequences of it. But then there's another side of it, and this is the one to me where it feels like, in general, whether it's sports, whether it's our personal life, culturally, it's like our podcast or our personal life or my social media presence or whatever. And I'm just talking from a player. I'm not talking about us, because our show is very important. Let's just keep that clear. But for the player, it's like, I would rather be relevant for being popular than for being my performance on the field. And maybe Drake May is doing this intentionally, where he goes, I really sucked in the Super Bowl, and I had a bad Super Bowl, and it was horrible. So here here's an opportunity for me to deflect. Hey, I had a bad Super Bowl, but Coach Vrabel, man, you had a bad offseason. So let's focus on you, and take all the blame off of me. But my point is our social, our popularity more important, and is that more the discussion than, how are we getting better as a football team, and what did the draft look like, and how am I improving as a player, and it's almost like the brand is the driving force with everyone over production.
I think there is a brand protection that, even I look at a former player like myself and one that competes in this space, because it's become such a necessary part of your resume. And
So it's not
I
a bad
think,
thing.
yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's
Yeah.
something that has to be managed because it will become a distraction. Some players have learned how to weaponize it, and they've learned how to use it as an edge when it comes in terms of negotiation, self promoting, looking for ways in which to keep the teams at bay. Because now the platform, it used to exist, the team could go talk to the media, and they could have their own set of media people, and then that they could influence, that they provided access for, and those are the ones that would put out whatever the narrative needed to be. And then the players were left with scrambling, like, well, who do I tell other than my teammates and my family and some close people that I know that may believe me and feel that, there's veracity to what I'm saying. Now that we can create our own media, and because our platforms are just as big, and in most cases the more popular athletes, it's bigger. People go to them for being the source of the inside information, and if they say this is what's happening inside of the locker room, or this is what's happening, they take that 9 out of 10 times over what comes out of the media that is closest to the team. They become secondary. So these have become the primary sources of being able to share, to deliver, to receive information, and then to be able to put it back out with a certain spin or a narrative based on what wants to be done. So they are influencers within their sport, within their organizations, which make them a valuable asset, which makes me question how organizations deal with discipline, um, and taking it when it's time to go and talk to players. Are they now held at bay? Are they now coming in with a strategy to say, hey, we got to soften the way we come in, or do they go hard in the paint? And I think it's really neutralized that as being an arsenal of tactics that they could use against the players, and vice versa. So it's an interesting piece, and I really believe they have teams around them, they got people around them, and if they don't put it out, they have people who know them, who know the inside, that puts it out, that can stir the pot by just having association or close proximity of affiliation. So it's an interesting piece to see how it's working out, because I do believe they're spending a lot of time there. A lot of time. Players are spending a lot of time in that space,
Yeah.
and it's paying dividends. It has become a powerful piece for them, but it also can work against them when it comes time for negotiation, or if they get left out from a team on a bad season or bad or down year, trying to go somewhere else could also become a hindrance, or some type of a barrier for them to go on to the next place.
Yeah, I wonder if AI has, it's like, okay, hey, my coach got in this situation. What does AI think about this? And I wonder if a lot of them are just going, here's the best response from AI about, your coach and his uncomfortable situation. That it's like, it's almost like it's like you go to a press conference, you're a player, and you just go, yeah. I got my AI bot here that's going to answer all the questions for you. So it's really nice to see you guys. I'm going to turn it over to him. Any questions you have, he'll be able to give you the answer that you're looking for. I would
I
not be
wonder if they're
surprised if that action actually happens down the road.
Think about this. I wonder if they're using it also to, when you get a contract and your agent or your representative is saying, "Hey, here's a contract we're going to sign." Are they tossing that in, or having the wherewithal to take the language? Maybe they're pushing it through to see if what is the consequences of I sign this? Because AI, depending on how you build it, how you train it, and
Yeah,
depending on the sources of information that you use to receive the feedback or get your answers, could be a powerful piece, and it can offset and also gate check a lot of the people
right.
who have been representing a lot of these athletes, both currently and in the past, to go back and say, okay, let's see from an audit standpoint, like, what are you doing, and get some neutral feedback on that. So I'd be interested in see how that's being utilized in contract negotiations, not only from the player or the representative side, but also how teams are using it when it comes to negotiating and forecasting what potentially the outcome would be in the decisions that they make. I would be surprised if they're not using AI and someone internally or companies to actually say, give us a competitive advantage of how we should structure and negotiate this contract that gives us this outcome 4 years down the line. And here's all the scenarios of all these other contracts. Here's the rules and regulations, all the other things that are happening. Give me the best way we should lay this contract out. I'm
See,
pretty sure.
Diego,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure there's teams that are using that in that capacity.
and if they're not, they're probably looking into it, and if they're not, they're probably the Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah,
So really,
um,
you got AI prompts challenging AI prompts to negotiate the contracts, and then
yeah,
everyone's looking at it at the end and going, "Huh, actually a bright idea," and
yeah.
they're playing chess and checkers with each other using these technologies. And like I said, everything has changed. The entire business of sports and the world in itself is completely changing as we speak, and it doesn't concern me as much as it makes me wonder um, who are going to be the winners and losers.
Well, Diego Pavia, who was a free agent with and signed with the Ravens, the runner up to the Heisman Trophy this year, a very outspoken player, just said, "Look, I'm not going to have an agent," and so maybe he's on to AI. Maybe AI is his agent. Maybe it's like, because all the things maybe you don't know, AI could certainly cover up when when you're just some young kid out of college, just going, "I'm going to go in and negotiate my contract with these these NFL people who've been doing this for a long time, and I don't know jack about how to do that, but AI will make up the difference, so it'll be
I
interesting."
think I think with that being said, Scott, that NIL, if I had to pick one thing that may come out of this, is the athletes will be a little bit more prepared and it won't be as foreign to them when it comes in terms of name, image, and likeness, contract
Right.
negotiations, especially if they're being educated now at the collegiate level. When they come in, you're going to get a sharper, more prepared athlete that's coming into these contracts, understanding some of the bullet points and understanding some of the legalese and the legal language that's in there and the consequences of accepting agreements. So there may be at least that positive that comes out of it.
So Russell Wilson, is it Russ Wilson or Russell? Well, Russell Wilson, of course, he's weighing in on the opportunity to either go play for the Jets or to go explore television. And it's like,
TV,
yeah, is there like a choice
TV.
here?
That's
Like,
not even a
really?
question.
I'm not sure Russell Wilson has been effective in the NFL for almost a decade now. I mean, really. I mean, the last few years in it's not been a good look for him. In Seattle, his last couple of years were not good, and things got weird when he went to Denver. Because he wanted an office, he wanted a personal assistant, and then I believe he goes to Pittsburgh, and it's weird there, and he's doing dropbacks on the airplane to England, and eh, yeah, it's true. And then he goes to the Giants, and of
Why are
course
you
they
bringing that up, man?
well,
I'm just
because
saying,
because most
man.
people don't
I'm
do
making.
dropbacks in the airplane. It's like it's just like
I'm gonna do one step. I'm gonna do my one step move. I'm gonna do a one step move on the plane, man. See if I can get past that seat. Even though just
I
got a
just like
center lane.
well, I'd love to see how you could even do a dropback in an airplane. I just like,
I just don't. I'm just looking at the players on the plane, just going, man, what, man? If you
yeah,
don't man, sit down.
yeah.
What? Just sit down.
Right,
Just sit down, man.
exactly.
Just what are you doing, man?
It's
Doing
like
drop backs. I would be concerned if my quarterback was on the plane doing some daggone drop backs. Like if you really that concerned that you got to start doing some drop backs mid flight,
if my
we in trouble.
quarterback if there was a quarterback in the quarterback room doing dropbacks in, the airplane in the aisle, he would be banished from the quarterback room. Like, he you're we're gonna put you outside the room, we're gonna put you in timeout, we're gonna let you think about this for a minute, and if you kinda get your mind back into reality here, we'll let you back in the room, but for now, you need to really evaluate, some of your actions there. So yeah, very interesting thing. Okay,
Yeah, no, I think, man, I'm to
we're
what
kind of
you were
joking.
asking on that. I'm doing a TV. I'm taking a TV contract. It's proven if you've watched Tony Romo, you've watched Troy Aikman, you've watched a lot of these guys, Kurt Warner, these guys all go into it. Former athletes, especially if you have a name. I think his name would resonate still in that. I think he would be a draw. He would have to still carry it. There's no guarantee though. We've seen it, right? You saw
Yeah. Oh yeah.
even like a guy like Gronk who came in. He was highly popular. He started doing all these crazy things on the sets, and then all of a sudden you saw all of a sudden it looked like they put him on something. Now he just settled down, right? And
Yeah.
he's kind of calm. He seems like normal on the set, and he's lost the personality, I think, that really drew a lot of people in to see what crazy stuff he was going to do on the set, and if you could actually keep him under control. So that also becomes one that has some guardrails around it. So with Russell Wilson, I don't even know. I haven't seen really a personality in a guy like Russell Wilson. So where you would use him and where he goes, sitting on the set like Gruden and some of these other guys, I don't know. I mean, I guess it just becomes that type of an opportunity. But that's where I'm going. I'm gonna go there and chill
Yeah,
and tell them the CTC, Scott, CTC, cut the check.
I will just
CTC,
tell
bro,
you,
cut the check.
I don't know. I mean, if you're crazy enough to do dropbacks and all the antics and everything,
Drop
it
back,
might be
man.
interesting to kind of. Well, no, I'm just saying it might be interesting because he's kind of an out of the box thinking guy. He might be interesting to listen to on television, and his take on things might be kind of refreshing and like, wow, I never thought of it that way, or never looked at it that way. And it was it might be must see television to tune into whatever he's going to say, or maybe he could give us an explanation for all of these things, and I might tune in. I'll tell you a guy who for me was a kind of a shock and disappointment. I thought he would be so much better, and he really wasn't, and that was Joe Montana. Do you remember Joe Montana actually doing some commentating on
I
TV?
don't.
I don't.
I
Yeah,
don't.
exactly. It was for a very short period of time, and he was kinda stiff. He had and of course, I've always been a big Joe Montana fan, and, but it just didn't kind of he just didn't seem very comfortable, doing it. Now, a guy who I thought was funny that was actually outside of the box on the TV stuff was, Tony Siragusa, and he
Yeah.
and he goes, "Don't put me in the booth." Like, don't have me sit in there. He says, "Let me just kinda chime in when I'm feeling the vibe. I'll just be like your sideline guy, and I'll just say funny stuff when it comes up." And he was great at that. And he kinda knew where his sweet spot was, and he knew it wasn't a guy being in the in-studio, analysis or being a color guy on a broadcast. He was just like, "I'm gonna be a colorful figure roaming the sidelines and just chiming in and but he was that great personality and fit very well for TV. I don't see Russell Wilson being that, but who
That
knows?
was my
Who knows
point.
what Russell
That's why I say, you look at Tony, he owned that persona and being the guy they cut to, and he'd always have something funny to say or something insightful. And even like with we talked about Gronk, I mean, it was the same thing. I think once they said, okay, we're gonna make him more docile and calm him down, I think he just kind of blended in, and it wasn't the same type of persona and personality that I think people kind of gravitated towards. So we'll see how he will establish himself and come back to do.
We're having a fun day here, just kind of riffing off of uh, uh, great hot headlines, great takes, hot takes, whatever you want to call it. It's hot. We're going to talk about it. So right now, we're going to do a little bit more on the NFL because, of course, it is the religion of our country. The only day off is our Tuesday. That's our day of rest from NFL stuff. But we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what's going on right now. Of course, what's going on right now is mini camps. Mini camps are happening, which is a weird name, a mini camp, and off-season workouts and OTAs and all of those things. And what does it mean? And what really goes into it? And of course, massive hype out of a lot of mini camps on boy, this guy looks amazing, and we're really excited about this rookie and what he's going to be to our team. And the reality of the whole situation, it doesn't mean anything. So What's kind of your take? And I know that it's a little bit different now than it was back in our day, but they still have mini camps, still have off-season workouts, they still have kind of OTAs. It's just called something a little different than it was back then. But where do you find the value in this, with spending time as a team together in the off season?
I think it's important that you bring these guys in, to take a look, see what they look like up, in person, bringing them in to get them acclimated, to get them. Let me go back. So what I like is they bring these guys in, and it gives them an opportunity to get acclimated to the team, to the environment, to seeing what the locker room is like. I think it also gives them, it's almost like when you get a new job and they bring you in town and they say, hey, get out so you can see what the community looks like. You can start thinking about, for those that are your higher draft picks, where you're going to stay, and you get settled because it becomes fast paced. These guys are going to be fast paced once everything gets going. The last thing they're going to have time and attention for is finding somewhere to live, to figure out how to get to and from the facility, being able to time things out properly, and then just be settled, because it becomes all football. It becomes living and breathing it. Now, there has been some relaxing of the way in which they've run camps, and they've put that workload on these players, from the times that we've played. And I think they have a little bit more free time, and there's a little bit more accountability that's left in their hands to be prepared. But it's the installation. So they need them to mentally, I think even more so than physically, be prepared to come in and just see what, their new organization is going to require of them. And so it's become a full deal, man, all year around. It used to be, this was time you take a vacation, you get together with a couple friends or a couple guys, you put in some things that you had from the previous year. And but now you talk about these mini camps and the off season training and workout. Um, these guys are doing it in different places. They're doing it with guys on other teams that they get together because they've struck a friendship or relationship and bond, and you get a lot of that's taking place. So it's become a something to watch and follow to a certain degree. I mean, I don't do a lot of it because it's a burnout, for me, just to kind of follow all the things that are happening, transactionals, the transactions and stuff like that are happening all the time. So I don't know what your take would be on that, but I have to wait till we start hitting times when it's actually relevant things that are taking place to the game itself. And I'm not saying this isn't, but we know a lot of things happen between now and even the preseason that then changes the shape and the look of most of these teams.
Yeah, so it's always meshing the new with the old. I mean, that's really a big part of it. And I know, from my experience, you come in the first day, the first minute you're there, you're all wide eyed, and it's also foreign to you. The uniform is different, the speed, the whole thing is just different from what you've been used to, and so you see it for the first time. It's a little bit overwhelming, and then it's nice that you've seen it that first time, because then you come back, so have a mini camp and first exposed to everything, and you go, okay, that was overwhelming, and then you come back and it slows down a little bit, and some of the veteran guys maybe weren't there, or and you have a chance to really kind of dive into systems and learning them and figuring them out in a very non-pressure situation. And then, of course, then you go into training camp, and then you're like, okay, this isn't totally new to me, and I'm getting acclimated to everything that's going on. Like you said, it's a weird thing where the whole process of when are your meetings and how to get to the facility and where you're going to live and what you're going to do for all the new guys. It's just nice to get all of those things settled long before the season starts. But there's one thing that always jumped out at me, and I know it holds true today, is you'd have these guys, and man, when you're in shorts, they are like the king of the hill. Like, you're like, "Oh, this guy is gonna be amazing. He looks so good. He's incredible." And then, the minute you get pads on, that guy disappears, and you're like, "Wait a minute, where was the guy in shorts?" And all this stuff, and putting on the pads is a great equalizer, and there's guys that maybe didn't show out or show up as well in shorts, but the minute you put pads on, it's like, "Where this guy? This guy's a dude, man. This guy can really play." And that always happens, and I'm not sure why it happens, but it makes me often wonder, like, how much value is there really in mini camps. The Lions decided not to have a rookie mini camp, or maybe they are having it right now. I mean, they clearly have an off-season program, but that rookie acclimation part is gone away, and maybe there isn't a lot of value in it because maybe you go, well, we don't know how many of these guys are going to be on the team. So why are we wasting our energy and our breath and all this stuff with all these guys? And a good portion of them won't even be around. But so you can never really totally evaluate someone until you get in the heat of the moment. You get where it really matters, and the pressure's really on. It really sifts kind of who can play and who can't.
Would you be opposed? And we've seen this kind of happening as you bring in these different generations of coaching styles and philosophies. We start to see, like you had mentioned, the Lions may or may not have their rookie camp or their mini camp or whatever it may be, and it's to the discretion of these teams. I don't know if there's necessarily anything that is locked in other than, hey, you have to be participating in preseason games. They set up contracts to say you're going to participate in obviously the preseason practices and training camp and all these things, and then the offseason workouts and all that. Like that's kind of like a templated schedule. And I'm wondering if they're given the ability to say, no, we're going to completely rip all that up and we're going to now go this other way. Because if you look at the evolution of anything, it starts at a point of origin and then it changes. It starts to have iterations and then it starts to have a little innovation. And then you get some people that are proving and disproving certain things that work and don't work. And it's a constant thing that has happened. Do you believe, because I do believe it's become very stagnant and it's become this
Yeah.
is the way to do it because this is the way to do it and everyone's doing it. But I don't know necessarily if it still doesn't have a lot more room for innovation and people going against the traditional grain and say, listen, let's change how we prepare for the season. Let's change how we approach preseason and training camp and how we go through training camp and how we really put stock into preseason games. And I think that's why they're kind of toying around with whether or not to either get rid of it altogether or to add more games to the season, shorten preseason to maybe a couple games or whatever it may be. But I think there's a new level and there's a new innovation and I guess process that can take place that some team is going to figure out, have some success. That's going to change how all the other teams will
Yeah.
structure from their draft time until the regular season starts.
No, it's a great point because you look at people who it's always about finding your edge, right? And if you just want to go with the flow or the status quo, that's almost like, well, that's what you're going to end up with. This is status quo. You're going to end up like everyone. You're just going to be in a fishbowl. And it's that organization, it's that coach, it's that player that just says, how can I think outside the box? And I think of Paul Brown, where he actually started to have meetings and taught it more like a classroom, and where there was the playbooks and all of these things. That was an innovation, and it really set his Browns teams apart from other teams. And so and now it's standard, and I mean what they do now is just insane, how they teach and implement and watch film and all these things. And you look at Bill Walsh and kind of his evolution of, ironically, Paul Brown's system, and created the West Coast offense, and really had a ball control offense by throwing the football, which was kind of unheard of. Everything was like, we're going to run the ball, but he was like, no, we're going to throw it, but we're going to high percentage throws. And it was different. Or Buddy Ryan and the Bear defense was, that was an innovation. I think even I don't know if you remember, I think it was 96, it might have been. It was our opening game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they hadn't shown anything about the Tampa 2 and zone blitzes, and all of a sudden the first game of the season, I just remember they came to Detroit, they beat us, which was shocking to me. But they really implemented a new style of defense, and it really threw things off. And they went on to be very successful. And of course, Tony Dungy wins the Super Bowl. And it's that willingness to kind of be innovative, be different, think outside the box. So absolutely, um, you know, um, it's a funny league for as popular as it is, and you have so many people that are, I like your term, lazy. You know, it's like, well, we'll just do what they did. Like, there's no one who's really forward thinking, and when they are, man, it's magic. You know, they become legendary. They become, you know, an innovator, and it's just all about, you know, just kind of, well, you know, this just makes sense. Let's do it this way. All right, that's all the time we have for today. He's Herman Moore. I'm Scott Mitchell. This is the Down and Dirty. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Chrissy, and of course Martin. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Until then, we'll see you then.